God bless everybody today. It is January 14th, 2023. Daniel 8 is moving quickly at this point. I believe that my date of January 24th, based on the paradigm, seems to be transpiring. We will know within the next few weeks or a month at the best whether this timeline makes any sense whatsoever, and that 24th date matters. And I'm not going to get into the 24th date. I've got videos you can go back to on this date, but in Daniel 10 there's an indication of the 24th day of the first month, and I believe that we're walking into that date. So I had indicated that Erdogan was going to have two options in Syria. Either he was going to figure out a way to work with Assad through Putin and Russia and keep Assad in place, or he was going to take this guy out. And it looks to me like Assad has decided that he doesn't want to work with Turkey. And so within the last few hours, last day or so, we've seen Assad basically come out against Turkey and say to get all of his troops out. And this has opened up multiple fronts of protests and bombings and different types of things along these borders between Syria and Turkey. So this is starting to ramp up really quickly. Now, I always try to show you a different variety of articles because I'm trying to give you a feel for what's going on, and I'm not really looking at political ideology here. This is the information. These are the news sources. This is what's going on. And then I give a little commentary and analysis to what I believe it matches up with the Bible. Now, I'm not trying to get political in these articles. I just think you need to be aware of what's going on and get different angles so you can see. It's just, I'm not pulling from one news source or something like that. So here's another news source that talks about on Thursday. So this has been, a day or so ago. Assad basically told Turkey to remove their military, and this is the one indication that I talked about. So let's go to that map real quick. So I'm on the Syrian live map. This is not the Kurdish map. This is the Syrian map. I'm looking at Assad right now and how he's affecting Turkey and different things like that. So I'm just on the Syrian live map. If you blow this up and you move in here, you'll see there's a lot of action going on. Turkey has unleashed a massive amount of artillery on the northern front above Aleppo, or Aleppo, excuse me. I know my words and names and words aren't always my favorite thing because I have a dyslexia. So if you hear me say something a little off, I'm sorry. It's just the dyslexia. Anyway, so Aleppo here, and just north of that, Erdogan's been doing a lot of bombing. He's having protests, and now there's multiple different fronts opening up between Assad and different factions here. So this is going to start to ramp up quickly. And like I said, now it was interesting that if you look back in history, and I always believe that it is extremely important that we go to history. So I'm going to blow this up and show you what I'm talking about. So in history, the Babylonian was moving south through Syria as the Kurds were being pushed southeast. So not only will Turkey be forcing the Kurds this way, and the Kurds matter in this equation. Daniel 8 prophecy says that once Kurds align with Iran, Turkey will crush them. That's the prophecy. Everybody wants to make it out to be a Russian thing, but it has nothing to do with Russia. Okay, so once Turkey breaks this Operation Claw Sword out, and he starts to push down into Syria here, and he starts to push southeast through Iraq, this is going to collapse the Kurds, which is what this is about. He's genociding the Kurds, but Assad's in his way, and the Iraqi government is in his way, and he's not going to stand for this. He's going to take these guys out. So yesterday, and I said this was going to ramp up. I was concerned between the 1st and the 24th of this month that this was going to really start to break out, and it is starting to break out. So Turkey, within the last day and a half, has launched 80 missiles and attacked multiple targets with artillery over here. Okay, and you can see this through these maps, and that's why I use the maps, because they keep you updated on what's going on over here. And you need to keep updated what's going on in the Middle East as well as what's going on in the rest of the world. But this is important, that now what he's doing is he's starting to soften these areas up for a land invasion. They always, you can go back to World War II, they always launch massive strikes against the areas through artillery and possibly even ships, because they're sending missiles and stuff down on areas and things like that. And so these things are important to understand and how these things progress. And so first thing Erdogan's going to do is he's going to soften up those northern forces, and then he's going to start driving his tanks in, as he's been telling us he's going to do for some time now. Now on the Israeli front, they're in trouble, and it's going to get interesting over here. Netanyahu's new government is extremely hard right. He's having a lot of protests in the country. I'm not going to go into all of these articles. I just want you to understand, to be watching this. That Temple Mount visit on around the 3rd, the strike on Damascus. We've had strikes on our bases. This is starting to heat up, but Palestine is going to fall potentially. Hezbollah has been complaining, that government is going to fall, and so we need to keep an eye on this. So this is a messy area over here, because you got Hezbollah, you got Hamas, you got the Palestinian Authority, which is the Palestinian government, you got the Lebanese government. All these groups work together or are working against each other at times, but they're always working against Israel. And so that's the most important thing. And so it's really hard to, unless you've been looking at this stuff for a long time, and I've looked at it for a long time, I still get confused. Dyslexia doesn't probably help. But you've got all these different factions over here. They're all vying against Israel and its destruction. And so all these groups are proxied through Iran. And so that's why Netanyahu is calling it the Northern Front, because he has to deal with Palestine, Lebanon, and Hezbollah and Hamas are in these areas. And so you need to understand, not only is he dealing with the governments, he's dealing with these other factions that are usually radicalized and are Muslim. And so just realize what's happening. But when the Israeli army chief threatens to send Lebanon back 50 years in time if they do an attack on Israel, the rhetoric is getting extremely harsh out here, okay? And this is going to start to boil up. And so watch the next 10 days, 2 weeks as this starts to transpire. So I've been talking about how Iran's going to get a bomb, and how Turkey is not going to allow Iran to destroy the Temple Mount with a nuclear weapon, or Israel is not going to allow this to happen. They're just not going to allow them to radiate God's seed, and it's not biblical. So it's just not going to happen. But it's interesting that after since 2015, we've had nuclear talks when Kerry put this terrible document together and has been trying to push this Iranian nuclear deal off on the population for 8 years. Um, it's finally they've decided that it's not working, and so Iran's nuclear program has expanded massively under President Joe Biden. And I talked about the other day, I had that article that Russia is using its ability to give Iran nuclear components for drones and weapons of war. And so the the Democrats just don't get this one. They need to not work with bad players. They're working with Iran and Venezuela for oil. We're working with Iran to come up with a nuclear deal. And Iran, you got to realize, Iran is the ideology driven here. They figure that if they can destroy Israel, that will bring back their Ahmadi or whatever it is that, Allah, their their people back. This will speed up the process. So that's why they're so radicalized. See, most people don't get that one. The radical Muslim, not the normal Muslim, but the radical Muslims, they believe that if they can destroy Israel, they can keep pressuring Israel, that will speed up this process to bring the Ahmadi back. And maybe I'm saying it wrong, but they're, they're Allah or whatever it is. And I don't follow radical Muslim ideology. I'm just telling you that this is what they're thinking. And so I probably know more if I did follow the other side, but I don't like getting into that dark area. So I keep abreast of it enough to let you know what's going on, but I usually use a Christian point of view, and I understand that the radicalized Muslim is the concern in the room. So not only is this starting to boil over in Palestine, but it's starting to boil over in Lebanon. And like I said, you have to look at Hezbollah, Hamas, and the government of Palestine and Lebanon to realize that they're all going to get into this. And so Lebanese army shoots down an Israeli drone, and so this is starting to ramp up. This has just happened in the last day. And so Lebanon's not really been into this much, but that is mainly where Hamas is, and so this is important because Hamas will be one of the main factions that launches potentially a large number of missiles into Israel. And like I say, these can range up from hundreds, if not thousands, and some people indicate that Hamas and Hezbollah potentially have up to over 10,000 missiles. So if they do start launching, this could get really interesting, and there's no way Israel can knock all these missiles down. The dome is not that, it can't reflect that many missiles. They will get some through, so we need to watch that. And if Hamas and Hezbollah decide to launch, I think it'll be an all-out attack, and this will get really harsh quickly. And this works hand in hand with what's going on in this whole equation. So Sweden is not giving up much more ground and on the NATO bid. And what this is about is Turkey, Erdogan is trying to designate the Kurds as a terrorist group. Finland and Sweden have been fighting him on this on certain levels. They've been trying to extradite prisoners and different things like that. But Sweden's basically said, we've given up about all we're going to give, and they're just not going to go any further, and they believe what they've done has allowed them to gain access into the NATO because they're not a member, and they want to become one like Finland does. And so they're not going to give up much more, and I believe, as I said for a while, Erdogan will go with his ideology of rebuilding the Ottoman Empire, and he will basically use NATO as a lever until it's not to his advantage anymore, and then he'll probably just leave NATO and not care because they're entrenched in Ukraine and Russia. And these people that keep telling you Russia is going to be the one that ends up in the Middle East, as they're totally entrenched in a war in the middle in Europe with NATO, and you got all these different groups coming in to the war there, and I'm not going to get into all those different things. There's people that talk about this constantly. I'm going to talk about mostly the Middle East, and I don't believe, as I said for a while, the communists will be a problem once the first 4 trumpets hit in the next year. So we'll see how that turns out. And even Mendez, of the Democrats of all things, realizes that selling F-16 fighter jets to Turkey is a bad idea. And I've actually mentioned this on Twitter. I don't know if he's actually ever seen my tweets, but he's brought up this before. I usually post, I have been lately, I've not been on Twitter very long, but I figure this might be a way to get some of the information out and trying to warn people what's coming so that they can prepare better. But I also have been trying to contact people within our government that I believe have a ability to help start to prepare this country, because as we walk into this, our country could actually help the population by giving them a better message and helping them prepare for potential a dire situation coming up, where most countries like Ukraine and Europe and different places like that, even Canada has a nuclear preparation type plan, but the United States doesn't. We don't have bunkers. We don't have a plan. We're just going to let our people figure it out at the last moment, and when something happens, we'll indicate to them at the last minute, and so they can basically stampede the stores and stuff like that, so we can nothing we do seem like works over here, and we just don't plan things out very well. And so I have tried to contact them. I've actually contacted Sherry Bustos and a number of people within the House and different things that this war potentially coming up, but they're not going to believe you. They're going to look at you like you're a crazy guy until it actually happens, and they're going to come back around. It's always after the fact. That's a bad thing. We never do anything as a human population until after the fact. And I believe one person said it best a while back, and I have no idea who quoted this, but if you give them any hope at all, they won't do anything. So don't give them any hope, because if they don't have hope, they actually might accomplish something and get ready. So if they have that glimmer of hope, they'll procrastinate, and that's just the human condition. So, but this is gonna, when the government realizes that this is a problem, and Turkey potentially is a nemesis of ours or a problem in the future, we don't want to be selling them our technologies. And we'll take one last look at the Syrian live map. This is the Kurds, and like I say, you can do these regional, select a region. You can go into Iraq, go to Syria, you can go into Hezbollah. Actually, they do factions and groups and epidemics and all kinds of different stuff on here. So it's a pretty good site. But as you can see, he's unloading that artillery barrage here. He's unloading artillery in the northern sections up here. He's doing reconnaissance and stuff through these areas here. You got Erbil, the government, down in through here, I believe. And you got shelling going on over here. So this is just going to start to break. Actually, Erbil's over here. Excuse me. But Erbil's been attacked, and this is, once he creates this land invasion, this is all going to collapse down. He's going to drive down through Syria. The Kurds are going to start to collapse all the way through, and they're going to be pushed down into this area, as Daniel 8 prophecy indicates. You can go look at Isaiah 20, chapters 28 to 38, and I believe if you go into Jeremiah, and I'm going to take a guess here, it's like chapters 26 to like 46, somewhere in there, you're going to see the same thing play out. So all the prophets talked about this, and they were all saying the same thing. And I may not bring Jeremiah up that much, but he's talking about the same thing as Isaiah. Ezekiel talks about this war against Israel through the 10 nations of the radical Muslims. You've got all these prophets talking about this. And everybody wants to make Daniel 8 out to be a history lesson when the Second Temple was destroyed. But if you go into that and you look at it, it clearly tells you it is at the time of indignation. And they say, well, that's when the Second Temple was destroyed. But he clearly says it's in the latter days of the indignation, not during his time. And so this is going to ramp up. Like I say, he sends in Turkey afterwards. And so if you look at that prophecy, it indicates that on the 24th, Michael, an angel comes to him. He's seeing this vision, and he's been distraught for 21 days up to that point. And on the 24th, Michael he sends Michael, the archangel Michael, against the country, and then indicated in Daniel 10, chapter 10, it indicates that he would send Turkey after that. So I'm expecting that's what he's going to do. God is always true to his word, and so that's why I use the Bible in this world of confusion, because if you use the Bible, you have the truth, and you won't have all the white noise and distortion out here. It will show you clarity and give you an optic that most people, very few people, are going to see out here, because they don't have the seal of God on their heads. So if you're seeing this and it makes sense to you, and you go to the Bible, not that I'm saying it because it's all in the Bible, if you go to the Bible and you look at this stuff and you can see what he's talking about based on what I'm showing you, then, if you don't understand it, please ask some questions. Also, please like the videos if I'm getting content out of here, and subscribe if possible, and please share if you feel this is valuable information, that to give a warning to your family and friends so that they don't end up in a bad place at the last moment and this breaks open or breaks out. So God bless every day. God bless everybody. Have a great day. Find Jesus. Find the open door. Put a lot of oil in your lamp. Things are going to break quickly, fairly soon, within days or weeks. So if you haven't started to get prepared, you need to do that. God bless everybody. Have a great day.